just move on. So when she does, that's what she needs.
At this very moment, we are one of 16 other rallies and events that are happening in Canada from coast to coast to coast. Science is the lifeblood of our future. Oil gets depleted with use. Science creates knowledge. Knowledge increases with use. We need scientists who are able to talk to the media and to the public, who are able to publish their data without any political interference, and who are able and free to disagree with the government when their data leads them to that conclusion, who are not afraid to express their opinions and who are not afraid to lose their jobs because they say them. We need scientists who are able to advise the government when it needs to hear difficult truth.
We are deeply concerned as an organization about the criminalization of dissent, but also we are concerned very specifically about the restriction of dissenting opinion through evidence-based research and the application of that research through policy.
We're committed to the role that science plays or should play in our society. Science, broadly understood, is a set of practices and commitments designed to develop better understanding based on rigorous inquiry. For science to be consistent with the aspiration to live in a civilized society, that society in turn needs to foster and respect a certain independence of science, and to respect systematic inquiry as an end unto itself, rather than as a mere means to an end. Scientific inquiry is not science if it is predetermined by partisanship, by narrow and cynical ideologies, and by a culture of control and fear. But I assure you, this is not a partisan message. We're not talking about a bad party, we're talking about bad policies.
And I'm a historian, I'm a former president of the Canadian Historical Association, and I and my colleagues are deeply troubled by what's been happening to those research-based institutions and agencies. We were shocked to see the savage cuts in funding at Parks Canada that led to the layoffs of 1,000 people, including a huge number of historical researchers. We were shocked to see the elimination of the National Archives Development Program. We were shocked to see the cuts to Stats Canada. And we've been in a state of utter disbelief at what's been happening at Library and Archives Canada, once an internationally respected institution. All of these moves reflect an attempt to make it more difficult to engage in evidence-based research, and they've been undertaken without adequate consultation with people who are knowledgeable in these fields and who have been protesting loudly against them. That would be bad enough, but at the same time, the government is attempting to shape a vision of Canada and of its history and heritage that's based on ideology and mythology rather than solid research. They poured $28 million into celebrations of the War of 1812 that promoted a distorted, ideologically driven view of that event. Even worse, they've invaded the Canadian Museum of Civilization to make it into a feel-good place that meets their own view of the past, but no longer has the research capacity to do the kind of thorough research for which it was formerly so respected internationally.
Congratulations for having the far-sightedness to stand up for science. I see you as standing up for two things: the centrality of science for our future and the need for freedom of inquiry if science is to flourish. For the first time, Canadian science is strong. That is the result of public concern for science. It is your doing. It is also the result of good government, which has in earlier times given scientists the freedom essential for creativity. The scientific explorer must steer her fragile vessel away from the shoals, into the deep ocean where new continents are to be found. Explorers, on returning from such a voyage, need the freedom to report what they found. The debate that follows benefits both science and the public. The concern that brings you here today is that the freedom of science is being constrained. Long-term goals are being sacrificed for the short term. The scientists' freedom to explore and then debate are being restricted. You are right to be concerned. This nation is ours in trust. Canada plans to be around for a while. We cannot acquiesce in policies that damage the health of our science. What you are engaged in is standing up for the freedom to be creative. Science is the way of thinking essential to our hopes for the future. Its benefits will flow to your city, your country, and the world. All three will thank you for standing up for science.
What do we do? Stand up, fight back! When basic science is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When basic science is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When evidence-based policy is under attack! More funding, more freedom! We want to know! More funding, more freedom! We want to know! More funding, more freedom! We want to know! More funding, more freedom! We want to know!
More funding, more freedom. We want to know. More funding, more freedom. We want to know.
More funding, more freedom! We want to know!
More funding,
More freedom! We want to know!
more funding, more freedom. We want to know. More funding, more freedom. We want to know.
We want to know! More funding!
Muzzled. We won't be muzzled. We won't be muzzled.
We won't be.
Science research! Now!
Also not
Basic science research. Now. Basic science research.
When do we want it?
Now.
More funding! More freedom! We want to know!
Funding, more freedom. We want to know. More funding, more freedom. We want to know.
More funding! More freedom! We want to know!
More funding, more freedom. We want to know.
More funding for basic science research. When do we want it? Now. What do we want to know?
More funding! More freedom! We want to know!
More funding, more freedom. We want to know. 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 More funding, more freedom. We want to know.
Friends, thank you all for coming.